Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Ed Parcaut of Helping the Brave. I can't talk today. Let's bring in our guest, Scott Lackey. It's what happens when I do too many recordings in a day. Yeah.
It's like a scratch record.
Yeah. Well, no, I do 14 shows a week of different things. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I stay a little busy. Plus, I do a live radio show. So, yeah. So I own a mortgage company, and I'm in AI, and I do Vibe. You name it, I do it now. Everybody's like, "How do you find the time?" I just do.
Just do. It's like asking me, how do you find the time to do an Ironman? You just do.
Yeah, the most I did. So I was working to do my Ironman, and I hurt my wrist because I was riding so much that I got a carpal tunnel. I did 108 miles on a training ride, and I came back and it just wasn't the same. And then it was like, okay, you need to take time off. And then it's like, forget it. Because the most other than that I had done was Olympic distance, because I really got into. So I was a bodybuilder, dude, from like when I was 30 on, because I got in a car accident and it says start doing weights to build up your back, and I took it a little crazy. I got big, and
That's
then,
awesome.
So when you see my first triathlon I'm on the bike, and I got these huge freaking biceps. It's just amazing. And people are like, it's kind of hard to run with that weight, with the muscle, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it is.
You look like you ate the bike, I guess, too, because you were so much bigger than the bike.
Yeah, well, I'm 6'2", and then you add on, at that time, I think the leanest I could get back then was 240. So I love Clyde, so I always look for Clydes.
Clydesdale, yeah.
Yeah. And if a guy was passing me that didn't have a C on his calf, I didn't care.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. No, in my very beginning, that's what I ran. It was the Clydesdale category, but I can't touch that anymore.
Well, the biggest problem is you get these guys who would they'd be 201 in their Clydesdale. And it's like, that's cheating. It's, yeah. But I enjoyed it. I did the one so I liked Olympic distances.
Yeah.
Because sprints was just too hard, too fast, too this. Olympic is good. If you work and do everything, you can train for it. Once you start getting in the half Ironman and the full Ironman, it's like a full-time job.
Change your life.
Yeah. My wife did a half, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to beat her now, and then I never caught up with that. But
do you remember which one she did?
She did it here in California.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's over towards where I'm at in California, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
I think it was the Vineman or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I just remember, I think it was because I remember I went to a movie. I went to this.
She's still running.
Yeah, well, because, she's not a fast runner or a fast biker.
Yeah.
My best sport for me, I'm sorry, I don't know how we got on this, but Scott, is I'm a cyclist, and that's when I was in San Diego. Yeah, I was a huge cyclist. And even in high school, I not like train, I would just ride everywhere. But in San Diego, I actually got into riding. So for me, when we did the Nations Triathlon, we did 25 miles in less than an hour. We were flying. There were so many people in this Nations Triathlon that when we moved over to get over, I don't say we were drafting, but we were pretty close, and we were flying. Because you didn't have a choice. Too many people on the road. There was nothing you could do.
That happens. And of course, they're really only worried about the pros. They're not worried about the regulars.
Right. And I'm just saying so for swimming and biking is my thing. Running is not my thing.
Yeah. Well, there's no love for me to go swim in the ocean at San Diego. It's too cold.
Yeah. See, I'd much rather have that. Put a wetsuit on. You're good.
Wetsuit's good. Yeah.
But that's what we always had to wear here. I mean, because I'm in Northern California, so all the stuff. I think the coldest one I did, I'll go get to you in a second, was Lake Berryessa in May. I think the water was 47.
Man, that hurts.
That disoriented so many people.
Yeah.
So you'd have this group go up to the water, put their feet in, and they left.
Oh, yeah.
Forget it. Yeah,
that hurts.
And the people getting in, you're like, well, for myself, I was disoriented for a second going, wow, and just get through it. And you get through it. And then I never warmed up.
Yeah, no, that takes your breath away at that temperature.
Yeah, because I do a cold plunge at 37, 39. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Are you doing cold plunges with your training?
No, I'm actually not. I've done one in my pool. It was frozen here in the winter. And we broke up the ice and got in it. And I said, well, I'm one and done.
Yeah. I like it because it just the endorphins from it, and for aches and all this stuff that when you train so much, because I'm trying to get back into shape, because I was in shape last year, and then I went through my PTSD stuff through the military to get my benefits, and it just messed me up. And so after almost 8 months of I just said enough is enough. I can't deal with this. I'm going back to the way I used to deal with this, which was exercise.
Exercise training is a wonderful medicine.
Yeah. All right, Scott, what service were you? The only question I always ask, usually 5 minutes ago, what service were you in, and why did you pick that service?
Sure, United States Army. And the reason I picked that service, to be honest with you, is because I wanted to see if I ever went to war, who was shooting at me, so I could shoot back.
Gotcha. So were you enlisted or officer?
Was enlisted.
Okay. And how long were you in?
8 years total, but 4 years of that was active duty.
Yeah. What would you, late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. So I enlisted.
That's when they had the 4-4.
Correct.
4 year. Yeah. Because I was 4 and 4.
Okay.
That's how I know that. Yeah. I went in 85, got out in 90, missed the Iraq war by 2 days.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I didn't miss it at all. I was with the 1st Infantry Division from Fort Riley, Kansas, when I went to Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
Yeah. And better you than me. And I don't mean that wrong. It's just I had my own issues dealing with Camp Pendleton, pulling duty as ambulance driver, not driver, but in ambulance, and what we saw constantly getting pulled to the freeway, and then the burn. I worked in physical therapy, which was dealt with burn patients and other stuff. So, I have my own things from that. And that's okay. Everybody has issues from when they're in the military for one reason or another, and you need to get taken care of. That's all I care about. So,
that's all that matters.
Because a lot of people who didn't go to combat don't think they deserve the benefits. They don't think they deserve to have these issues. And you do. It has nothing to... Combat is bad. It just is. If you're in combat, there's things you see and there's nothing you can do about it. Yep. But just because you're not in combat didn't mean you didn't see something in training or other stuff or all the way through there. So go get your help. So,
understood.
Yeah. So I was 5 years, 5 months, and 14 days because I went to physical therapy, which was... I'm going to give you my stories. And then, so when I was a corpsman in the Camp Pendleton, my 18 months, they said, you're either going to a ship or a specialty school. And I said, well, what specialty school is not on a ship? And they said physical therapy. And that's what I said. I want to do that. And it was actually the best thing, because then I came back to Camp Pendleton. I was able to do triathlons and all the training we did. We'd have 2 hours for lunch if we worked out.
Yeah.
And so we all worked out.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine myself. First of all, I had no interest in going into the Marines. I wasn't smart enough to go in the Air Force. And I had no interest of being on a naval ship under any circumstance.
Yeah. So when my son joined, he joined the Army. He's an airborne medic, combat medic. Now he's just a combat medic, because he said after 4 years and hitting a tree, he's like, enough is enough, Dad. I'm done. Yeah. And so he, when he joined, he was like, should I go talk to the Navy? I go, no, because you will not get lucky like your dad was. There's just no way. They do it differently now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you were in, and what was your specialty?
So I enlisted in an MOS called 72 Echo, which was tactical telecommunications, but I never worked my MOS. When I got to my first duty station, and by virtue of enlisting for 4 years, I was able to pick my first duty station, which I asked to go to Germany. So graduated from my MOS school, came home, they shipped me over to Germany and boarded the bus, got to my first duty station. And in the first 10 days of being there, we had a brand new lieutenant join the platoon. And as we were trained not to do, I still to this day, not really sure why I did this, but our drill sergeant, platoon sergeant said, I need a volunteer. And everybody was standing around looking at each other. And I said, I can't be this bad. I'm in Germany. So I raised my hand. And he pulled me up front. And he said, go downstairs to the office. You're the new LT's driver. And so that's what I did for a few months, is drive him around southern Germany. I should say a lot. And then he ended up being pulled in or selected to be the AG for a 2-star general. And we were in a nuclear missile unit called the Pershing II missile. And a few weeks later, after he got pulled over there, he tapped me on the shoulder and said, come join us. And so I was in a position, that I had no business really being in, because it's normally reserved for military police, but I ended up being a driver for a 2-star general for a while. And then after that, the deputy commanding officer. And that was my 2 years in Germany.
Wow. Everybody says they love Germany. How was Germany?
Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Yeah. Now I will say this in fairness, and the people were really, really nice over there. When I was there, the younger generation didn't care much for us. Not all of them, but a lot of them. The older generation was extremely appreciative of why we were there. They would invite you over for dinner and, try to teach you German. So I had a great experience there, but I will say that at the end of my 2 years, it was, I knew 6 months prior to the end of my 2 years that I was ready to get back to the good old United States. So wonderful country to be in. I just didn't want to live there forever.
Gotcha. Because during the when I was in San Diego in the 80s, when I'm going, they had signs on their lawns, and I totally forgot about this until a guy reminded me, because he was stationed down there too, and he goes, they would say, keep your dog and your sailor off our lawn.
Oh, wow.
So when you talk about how people are about certain things, well, back then they wanted us there, but they didn't want us there.
Sure.
And that's how it is with a lot of places, unfortunately.
It is. I'm okay with that. I mean, you feel how you want to feel, but in that era, we were training for when the Russians came through or came across the border. That was our entire mission, was to prepare for that. And so the way I always looked at it is, you think how you want to think, and when they start coming across the border, we'll figure out who our friends are.
Well, it's so funny because that people don't realize how close Russia is to us.
Next door, man.
I mean, they're right there in Alaska. They're right there. People don't get it, how close they are. And they are right there. I mean, because when we went up there to visit our son, you realize how close they really are, because they do their certain things they do when they get close, but they don't get close enough. Both sides. Yeah.
Well, they're always buzzing the airspace up there with their bombers,
And vice versa.
Of course.
Right. Of course. Yeah. I mean, it's just how it works.
That's the game.
Yeah.
We did the same thing when we were in Germany.
Yeah. All right. So after Germany, where'd you go?
I chose to go to Fort Riley, Kansas. That's how I got to the 1st Infantry Division. And so I had a great clearance, as you can imagine, when I went to the 1st Infantry Division. So they put me in a ComSec room, communication security, with me and one other gentleman. And he and I were responsible for all the communication security. And we stayed there. I was there for, I want to say it was, I was there for my last 2 years. I can't remember how many months I was there before I got sent to BNOC, Basic Non-Commissioned Officer School, to become a sergeant, list E5. And while I was there is when Saddam Hussein, I was in class, is when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. They woke us up at 3:00 in the morning. This is not a drill. Get your stuff. You're going to the desert.
Was that August of 90?
Was.
Yeah.
Well, when that happened, yes, but that's not when we deployed over there.
No, I'm just saying, but because what people don't realize, because they think it's later, but if you were in the service August of 90, you were in wartime.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. And there was, people don't really realize this at this point where we are in the world, of how many countries and, tens of thousands of troops were, we were over there massed on the border. We were part of what was called 7th Corps. And it was our group that led the opening of the ground invasion when it started.
Yeah. How helping the brave, one of the reasons we do what we do. And when I started this, we had a guy who came on, and he got sent over there. And when he first got there, he was on his Bradley. He was on the team. He was the gunner, and they went out and they came. And then the next day, what happened is the night before, the person in charge, bear with me here, it's been a long time since I told the story, but the driver and him got in an argument. And so he's like, hey, by the way, gunner, you're my driver, and driver, you're the gunner. The next day they got hit, and pretty much all except for 2 people lived. He lived, the guy that was the gunner who became the driver. And so you could hear in his voice that he had remorse for, survivors. For sure. Yeah. That whole, and it was 30 years later to the day that he was talking about it. And there was a lot of stuff that we went through that we weren't ready for it. I don't think anybody was ready.
No, we weren't ready for that. We didn't even have, they were painting our vehicles sitting on the train with like mobile spray cans to turn them from camouflage to desert tan. We didn't get our desert camo until we actually got over there and we're out in the desert. They shipped the stuff to us out on the front lines. That's how fast things were, were moving. We just weren't prepared for that type of theater. But I'll never forget, a colleague of mine, and we were transporting some confidential information from our position to another position, and the roads out in the desert, they were marked by animal signs. Like, one road might be called Scorpion, and you'd see a scorpion sign, or one might be a rhino. That's how the roads were marked. And so we were driving to this other position, trying to navigate these, I hate to call them roads because it makes it sound like you could tell. You know what I mean? But you were driving
roads.
you were
roads. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to call it.
So who put the signs out there as Scorpion or whatever?
I don't know, but my suspicion would be it was the military police or some forward operating unit but I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying that's not something they would have done, right?
Oh, no. Yeah, no. But no, not at all. But anyway, yeah, one day, speaking of driving, we were going from one point to another point, and the sun was setting, and I'm driving, we're in a Humvee, and all of a sudden I look up and I'm like, I don't see any road tracks anymore. So we stop, and I get up in the turret, and I'm looking behind us, and there's just our road tracks, man. And, I didn't, of course, the closer you got to the Iraqi border is where the minefields were and the berm and all that other stuff. And so, for all I know, I could have been driving in the middle of a minefield, didn't even know it. So that was one of my early experiences before the ground war started, of how quickly in the desert you can get disoriented and be exactly where you're not supposed to be. And bad things happen when you're out there.
So you made it back okay?
Oh, for sure. We just, retraced our steps to get back to the road and figured out how we missed the road and got to where we were supposed to go extremely late. They didn't want to let us in and all that other drama, but no, it was fine. It was just one of those moments where your, pucker factor is pretty high because you don't know everything looks the same.
So how long were you over there?
Gosh, just a little over 4 months, not very long.
And so you were
the war didn't last long.
You were a driver over there?
No, actually, I was over there responsible for the communications security and attached to it.
You just happened to be driving, though.
I was carrying classified information from point A to point B. That's all it was.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they can't fly that stuff back and forth.
It was. I mean, they could, but it wasn't that terribly far. They were too busy flying sorties over Iraq, bombing. So
right. All right. So then how long were you in after that?
So, while I was there, this is fast forward the wars, over. Now we're in northern Kuwait, and we were one of the most northern units to protect what was the fear back then, is that there was going to be a resurgence and attack us from the rear once we were, finding our way back to Saudi Arabia. But that's where all the oil wells were burning. I've got some amazing pictures of where nighttime is daytime, and it was time for me to re-enlist or make a decision. And I actually, when it was around that period of time where I actually had this idea for an invention while I was in the desert, and it was because of that idea of this invention that I was convinced was going to be my career and turn me into a millionaire, that I decided not to re-enlist and follow my promise to my parents that I would get out of the military and go to college. And so that was my reason for not re-enlisting in the regular Army, if you will, full-time, right? And then going to the National Guard.
And then did you become a millionaire from your idea?
No, it was a tragic, catastrophic failure of biblical proportions. It was terrible.
Well, at least you learned something from it, right?
I did. I learned, honestly, I make fun of it. I learned a lot from it. The product was called the Wire Dog. And it really came out of necessity in the desert, because before the war started, they had 12 of us, whatever it was, 10 or 11 of us, dragging spooled, communication lines from position to position and digging a trench and laying the wire and covering it back up. And it was just absurd. And the heat and days and miles and miles. And I figured out this apparatus that would do it with one person driving the truck and two of us operating it. And that crude design worked. And just the act of following that through. And, when so many soldiers transfer or transition from the military, from that structure to the lack of structure of being a civilian again, depending on how long you've been in, I don't have to tell anybody that's done that. It can be a radical transformation. And it was for me. I went from this make it happen culture to this civilian life. And it was not an easy transition for me at all.
I think it had. So when I got out, I just finished my bachelor's. I was working on my master's. I got out. I thought I knew exactly what I was going to do, and nothing ever works out the way you think it's going to.
Never. Yeah, never. And it wasn't so much that I mean, I did believe that the invention was going to be successful, but I mean, I was still grounded enough to know that, even from the military, not everything survives the first engagement, right? And so having that mindset, I was still grounded with that. But when I left the military, and I excelled in the military, I was promoted faster than my peers. I mean, you could cut butter with the starch crease on my uniform or shave out of my boots. It was just, that's the way I was. I loved it. Not everything, but I loved a lot about it. And that make it happen mentality that I left the military with just did not translate in the civilian life. I was an oddball. And I know, because I'm not telling you anything you don't already know.
No, I'm a veteran. I totally understand. That's why I work for myself.
Yeah.
My own business.
Yeah. And so, yes, I learned a lifetime's worth of lessons. And of course, now, knowing what I know now, looking back on it, I know why it didn't work. I know the 412 mistakes, that I made. I just wasn't qualified to do what I was dreaming about doing. And there was nobody there to help. I mean, back then, Google was telling everybody your business,
Yeah, and then, but you don't realize if you come up with an idea and you're in the military and you come up with the idea while you're in the military owns that idea.
They very well could have. If it was successful, they would have been knocking on the door.
Yeah, because when I was in the medical field and that's this half board, basically they took the full backboard, cut it in half, and came up with this idea so it could get in the car. The guy was in the military when he created it. Guess what? No.
Did they? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I knew that was a possibility. A lot of questions came, to me during that time frame. And my answer was, well, we'll deal with it if it happens.
Right. But I'm just saying that's how they run. Because that's the thing. And that's like if you have a company and you come up with an idea while you're working for that company, that they potentially have a right to it because you came up with it on their time. And please don't get me wrong. People just don't understand that.
No, that's true. It's absolutely true in business. You read the fine print of all the paperwork they make you sign when you start out. Absolutely true.
Yeah. And that's what we did. We signed the line to do what we did. And speaking of rank and how fast you made it, I can't believe how fast my son has made rank in the Army. Yeah. Because in the Navy, nobody will have to get out. But he got E5 within 5 years.
Same. Yeah. Same for me.
And the only reason it was 5 years is because his re-enlistment bonus was $40,000 to stay E4.
Yeah.
And the only reason for E5.
Honestly, the only reason it took me 5 years to make it was because I didn't commit to re-enlist. Had I committed to re-enlist in the regular Army, that was coming with it immediately.
Well, but I'm just saying he re-enlisted, but the bonus was so much bigger as an E4 than E5.
Really?
Yeah, it was $40,000 for an E4 to re-enlist and $10,000 for E5 to re-enlist. He's like, Dad, I'm waiting because I'm getting my re-enlistment bonus. I'm like, well, you're smart, kid.
Yeah. Did they pay that in lump sum or did they pay it out over the time, the service period?
I don't know. I don't get into that.
That's a big bonus, man.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah. But you got to remember, after taxes, it's a small bonus.
100%.
It's probably paid over a period of time, I'm sure. But he might have gotten it all because I remember he paid off some bills in his car and a few other things.
Yeah, those are some passionate feelings I have about soldiers is they should never pay a tax on their bonus. They shouldn't be paying taxes anyway, but that's another.
There's so many things. Just like I got the thing they're passed right now through Congress and it's going to the Senate, which is the bill to change. And I don't have a problem with what the bill does, but how they're paying for it. They're paying for it with the funding fee from the VA loan, which should not be paid for by the VA loan. Yeah. They're trying to raise the the refinance one from 0.5% to like 1.5%. And then that will allow this funding to where the reservists, the one you went into, National Guard.
Oh, National Guard.
The active duty doesn't have to be 90 days or whatever, it can be less.
Okay.
I think they should do that. But my question is, why do veterans have to pay for their own stuff? This group of people, no other group of people out there who get money from the government have to pay for it to get it.
Yeah.
But they want us to pay for it to get it. That's what my problem is with it. Yeah. And my thing went viral today when I said it, because I do a radio show in the morning just for 20 minutes and the people cut it up and the thing's going crazy because I don't think people understand that that's what went through.
Yeah.
And it hasn't finalized. It's going to the Senate. I hope somebody smart enough in the Senate goes, this is ridiculous. Why are we having veterans pay for this?
Well, hopefully there's a veteran that picks up on it, because that's our only chance.
Yeah. Well, I don't trust the guy that, the one of them, he's making too much money now. We'll just leave it at that.
I'm following you.
All right. So you didn't make millions off your idea. What did you do when you got after that?
Yeah. So college, got my degree in finance. And as typical of my life, instead of leaving college and expanding on my finance degree, I was actually hired by a medical company, a national medical company that worked with hospitals, and I became a territory medical sales manager, territory manager of medical sales, calling on hospitals in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
Where do you? That's right. You're in Atlanta now, right?
Well, I'm in Atlanta now, but during this period of time, actually, I was born in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It's up in the northeast corner. So when I left the military, I went back to Jonesboro. I did it different than everybody, right? So active duty first, 4 years. And then college after that for 4 years. So when I was a freshman, everybody I knew was graduating that year. And
so that I didn't start my college till I was 21.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that was in the service I started.
Yeah. I tried that, but I didn't have the discipline, educational discipline, I should say. I had every other type of discipline, but I didn't have the educational discipline to take classes when I was in the military.
When I came back from physical therapy, while we're waiting for patients, we would do our homework.
Yeah.
That's a totally different. I worked in a totally different place. Then I went to school at night, had the dust stuff. I would, stay up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, get into work around 6. And I used to ride my bike into work.
Yeah.
So I'd ride in the morning from the back gate from my house and ride out the front gate and on my bike. And that's how I trained, because in order to get to work, I would ride my bike.
Yeah, you could give me some crazy mission to accomplish in Germany, and everybody would go to sleep because they know that Scott's going to make it happen. But you could turn right around back at the barracks and say, Scott, I need you to stay up tonight until 10 o'clock and study this material. If it wasn't military related, I just didn't care.
Yeah, well, it's your time, but you finally went when you did. And it doesn't matter when you go to college. If that's what you want to do, just go to college. Yeah. And the fact that, and the worst thing was, the time you joined, same as me, that GI Bill was horrible.
It was 100%.
It was the first one out there.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I mean, every generation has something different, and something better. I mean, think about
the current one is amazing.
Yeah. See, I don't even know what the details are. It's been so long since I've even examined.
You can even give it to your kids and your spouse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
After 9/11, they changed and everything else. And then the voc rehab, if you're disabled, you can go to school with that. And there's so much stuff now that is so much better.
Yeah, I had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah. I only know because I have friends of mine who I do a lot for vets here in Modesto, and they were and UOP's right up the street, and they that's University of Phoenix. That's part of University of Pacific. That they have a huge thing. They even have a veterans center, but they also have barracks for them for about, I think, 20 veterans to stay in.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it's actually really cool. And I've been talking to them and they're all going to get their masters and other stuff through voc rehab, which is a program for that. So
yeah, it's good. I'm glad. I didn't know this about you, that you're still involved in that. That's really cool to hear about.
Well, I ran away when I got out. I ran away and wanted nothing to do with the military, nothing to do with everything else, just because of what I went through. I didn't realize what it was until later. Yeah. It was just what I seen and did. And I went through, they sent me to speech therapy my last 6 months because I wouldn't talk right.
Oh my God.
Just wouldn't, it had to do with, I just saw a lot of stuff and, and I didn't realize. And back then, nobody said, go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Scarlet letter to talk to somebody.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's funny you say that, because that was really not for veterans specifically, but veterans were one of my target audiences when I wrote my book, Wake Up to Die Again. And that has been really profound for me over the last 2 weeks that the book's been out, of feedback from my beta readers and some early feedback I'm already getting from people that finished the book in like 4 days. Blew my mind. I couldn't read my own book in 4 days. So, but it's that same audience, and I'm excited to see, because I am targeting some of the veterans to share the story with. So I'm hoping that that impact works.
Yeah. So what got you to write this book?
It was actually a product of COVID, believe it or not. Is during COVID, life was fine. I was working from home for a few months. My wife wasn't teaching at the time because it was summer, and life was fine. Kids healthy, job's great. And this little voice came in my head and said, "Hey, Scott, you're not where you're supposed to be." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And that really progressed quickly to. It wasn't so much that I wasn't where I was supposed to be. It was that I had a lot of broken promises to myself that I never did. Some important things to me. And one of them was completing an Ironman. One of them was writing a book. There was a list of things that just, I attribute this to during COVID because everything was quiet. The noise was gone. And it was in the absence of the noise that I started doing that self-examination. So to jump forward, I went out and picked the big, hairy, scary, ugly thing on the list that it got me excited, and that was the Ironman. So once I completed that race in Tempe, Arizona, then not immediately thereafter, but not too long after that, I said, okay, what else was on the list that is a big, ugly, scary goal that I need to get behind me? And it was writing the book. And so it took me 2 years to do it. But it's done, it's published, and hit #1 new release on Amazon and #2 on the bestsellers list.
Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Now, are you still doing Ironmans?
I am.
Oh.
Yeah, now, I don't have a race this year. This will be my first year in since COVID that I don't have a race. And only because it was crunch time of getting the book published and edited and, and promoting it and podcast and all this stuff. So I am still training, but I'm on a significantly reserved scale for now. But later this summer, I'm going to pick my Ironman for next year. I've already have some ideas on which one it's going to be, but I'll be back to the full distance next year.
Yeah, I'm trying to lose enough weight because I have my knees are all messed up from the military. My left one's really bad.
Oh my gosh.
The VA doctor wants to replace it. My regular doctor's like, you got a few more years on this. Just keep with the shots, but you might want to lose some weight. Because the
weight thing makes a big difference.
Oh yeah, because it's also muscle weight. I mean,
of course.
I gained 50 pounds during that period of time that I was telling you about that I was going through, and now I've lost almost 30 of it, so it's coming off. But I need to even lose more because I'm at the point where I don't care about the muscle. I like working out, but I don't need to.
Yeah.
When I used to cycle in San Diego, my legs were 32 inches. Yeah.
You were a beast, man. That's why you were riding at 25 miles an hour.
No, that was in San Diego, man. Later on, when I was doing the 25 mile, I didn't have that big of thighs, but it was just, I just knew how to ride, man. It's like, you get me on a bike, I'm trying to just kill it. Yeah.
What are those racers called that race inside? Is it the velodrome or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Their legs are
huge.
Shocking.
Yes. And they're like the ice skating, skaters. Those guys' legs are huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Shocking. Yeah.
Yeah. I always had big legs from the Parcaut family back in the day. We were in carnivals, and we used to go and walk on plane wings. We were crazy people. So we come from the strong men kind of place. Yeah.
Sure.
So when I decided to start working out at 33 with weights because of what they told me, I could barely push up 135 pounds in 6 months. I was pushing up 415, and then I got huge. I didn't realize how big I got until these little girls in Mexico was like, "Oh, look at my muscles," and so I was like, "Wow!" I didn't realize, it's just because I enjoyed it. It was like, "Wow, I can do this." Wow, this is. Yeah. But then when I wanted to get back into training for triathlons and having that, because my wife approached me. We'd been married, and she's from Hawaii, and so she only knew about the big one. There was always just Ironman, not about the smaller versions. And so her first thing was, "Hey, will you do a 5K with me, a 10K?" And then she was like, "Hey, will you do a sprint?" I'm like, "Sure. I used to do this stuff. No big deal." And she just brought up our times from before. And I remember doing the Santa Cruz 10K, and over in Santa Cruz, it was windy. And I looked back behind me. I had like 20 people running in a line behind me because I was breaking the wind for them. I'm like, "You bastard." Yeah. But that's what it is. So she's like, I think she's training she wants to do another Ironman or a half Ironman.
That's really cool though that you were able to participate in part of it with her. My wife started doing some training with me and got injured. She's like, "I'm done with this,"
Yeah. Well, the problem is I can't train with her, like run with her, because she runs and I can walk.
Well, you know, they have relay teams now for triathlon. They're really popular where you need a third person, right? She can do the run or the swim. You have each person do a discipline.
She's too slow.
Let her swim.
She's too slow.
Oh, then let her run.
Too slow.
Oh, have fun.
I'm competitive, right? She does it like she'll, this is a running joke. She's like, she's gonna hate if she ever listens to the show, but it's just like the guy sat down to change the sock on his amputee, and I was able to pass him.
Oh,
the little things in life. No, she just wants to do it, and whatever makes you happy, then go do it. For me, it's how I want to be fast. Yeah, exactly. When I did the Nations Triathlon, there was 5,000 people in my age group.
Oh, in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do that one. I never did it. They don't do it anymore.
It was great. The one that was the fastest I've ever done one was at the Nations Triathlon.
Yeah, no, I did a lot of research on that. I desperately wanted to do that, but I never put it together before they canceled it.
Yeah, so I did that in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah, it was during the Great Recession when I had a lot of time because I'm in the morning.
2008.
Yeah.
2009.
That period. And the only problem is we swam in the Potomac. The problem was all the jet skis.
Really?
Yes, because you could smell their fuel in the water.
The two-stroke. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. It was just horrible. And then, but the bike, I mean, over bridges or whatever, we were flying and they were like, slow down. There's a bump ahead. No, they should have said there's a couch covered with asphalt ahead. There was water bottles everywhere from hitting it so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought
water bottles are the cause of a lot of wrecks in triathlons.
No, it was the bump that caused all the water bottles.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But then, I mean, it was like, I hit it so hard, I thought I destroyed my tires and everything else. And then, but still came in an hour and 25 minutes. And that was the last 2 miles I was going slow. So,
yeah. That's a good story.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a great time. It was the first, after I was finished, I was starving and was waiting for my wife. So I went down to this place and I ate a salad and had mushrooms on it. I didn't care, and I can't stand mushroom. That's how hungry I was after that.
That is the best food I've eaten in my latter life here, is always after a triathlon, man.
Yeah. All right. So you wrote the book, and so what's the book really about?
Yeah. So the title, Wake Up to Die Again, there's two sides of that, and you'll relate to both of them, Ed. The first audience, if you will, member, is people that wake up every day just to give a little bit more of themselves away, right? They wake up to die again. It's a bad thing. And, enough time goes by, you may be 33, you may be 27, 45, 54, but enough time goes by, you wake up and you don't know how the hell you got there. You're not where you're supposed to be. As a matter of fact, that's chapter 1. You're not where you're supposed to be. And there are millions of people right now that wake up every day just to die a little bit more. Now, in that same vein, as you're reading the book, if you're on the other side of yourself, where I am and have been for a long time, and where you are, Ed, is to wake up to die again is a beautiful thing. And it's where I focus, whether it's in my Ironman training or just in my personal improvement or weightlifting, whatever it is that I'm doing. I'm focused on giving up those parts of me that no longer serve me anymore. I'm working on being a better version of myself today than I was yesterday. So that's in essence what the book is at 50,000 feet. And I'll say this, I'm going to use two of my beta readers as an example. One gentleman that read the book, I hadn't seen him in 15 years, and he agreed and wanted to be a part of being a beta reader. He gets 6 chapters in the book. He texts me and he said, Scott, I'm going to have to apologize. He said, I know you wanted me to be a beta reader and help you, but I just have to be honest with you. I think your book's going to help me more than I'm going to be able to help you. You've had me laughing and crying in the first 6 chapters. I'm going to have to set it down because it's making me process a lot of things I need to think through. And that was a really powerful testimony from him. But on the flip side, my neighbor, B-52 pilot, retired colonel, was over in the desert when I was over there. Of course, I didn't know him. He was at, God knows how high, and I was on the ground. But I asked him to be a beta reader, and we really didn't know each other. We're just neighbors. I didn't even know he was in the military. And he read the book, and he got to the end and he said, Scott, I've read books like this my entire life, probably 200 books. And this is one of the top 5 books I've ever read in my life. And as soon as you publish this book, I'm going to be the first person that buys a case and start handing these out because this message needs to get out to the community. And we're 20 days into the book being released, and he's already bought 100 books and giving them out left and right. So it's a single book, but it will hit you or land right where you are in your life. And it is not, Ed, a 7 steps to whatever you want to call it. And I'm not a fan of 7 steps for anything. It's 24 chapters of lived experiences, some things we, obviously didn't talk about today, and some powerful stories. And I think it's a beautiful story. That's what I'm hearing from the people so far.
And it's everywhere, Amazon everywhere?
Well, Amazon right now. It's Amazon, and again, Wake Up to Die Again. And that's the only, you can't get it on not Best Buy, but
Barnes & Noble.
What's it called? Barnes & Noble. We can't get it there yet. I just have to get it uploaded there. Haven't done it yet.
Right. So you self-publish, which is good.
Yes, did self-publish.
Yeah. Now, Spark, Ingram Spark.
Yes.
Because I did my financial freedom building personal wealth through home ownership.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. So I did a book 3 years ago, and I got like 4 other ones sitting here ready to go. And the biggest thing, I had a company help me at that time and do everything and upload it. Now I realize today when I was on my walk with Claude, I was telling it, this is what I need to do. I don't know if you ever use Claude or ChatGPT, but you can hold it to where you can talk to and it talks back to you.
Absolutely.
And I was telling it what I needed to do, and it was setting up all my things while I was walking. And one of them is how to upload through Amazon and
it's not difficult.
Spark again. No. But on Ingram Spark, what just didn't happen when I had my book come out is there's a link where you can connect it to your website.
Correct.
People can go directly to your website and buy the book, and you make most of the money versus Amazon. Yeah. So just people don't understand that. So that's there. And so everybody's like, well, don't you want them to go to Amazon? No, not really. I want them to go to my website. I want to build my website and have them buy at my website. That's more important to me than selling books on Amazon and having reviews on Amazon. Because if you look at people's reviews on Amazon now, a lot of them are fake.
There's no question about it. I'm discovering that by looking at some of the, I'm going to call it competitive genres, and I'm reading some of the reviews, and I'm like, man, how did this happen? But what do I know?
Because a friend of mine wrote a book, and a bunch of people have, but I checked their reviews, and you could just tell he had 75. And I have my book, and everybody loved my book, and people want it. But those people don't always leave reviews.
No.
And so you look at, and I look at it, and you could just see like they could paste it, they're not verified sellers or buyers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they're just people leaving reviews. And I'm like, I don't want that. I have companies reach out to me going, we could help your book. We can get reviews. I'm like, are they from America? Oh, no. I go, why would I want them?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Well, it's find out that you paid for reviews is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Again, I'm 0.0 interest in that. Of paying for use. What I am interested in, like we started out our earlier conversation, is I know that my beta readers of every walk of life you could imagine taught me more about my book than I did writing it, because they were the receivers of the message. Okay. And what I've learned from them is that this is extremely meaningful in people's lives right now who are dealing with challenges. And some people are dealing with chaos in their life. Some people are just dealing with normal life challenges. Some people's life is upside down. Some people are perfectly fine and looking for the next breakthrough in their life, and they're looking for a self-help book that will do that. And that whole spectrum, what I've learned from them is that it is all about lived experiences. And I've heard this from all of them. Thank you, Scott, for such an authentic, vulnerable, transparent, real story. That is the number one thing that I hear from them is thank you for the authenticity and being real. That's what they wanted.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, and thank you for sharing. Your book is Wake Up to Die Again, Breaking Who You Became So You Can Become Who You Were Meant to Be. Sorry, I had
yes, sir. That's
my classes aren't on, so.
No, you nailed it. And I'm just thankful, honestly, to be here, Ed, and just have a good conversation. My son said the other day in the car, Dad, everybody's talking to everybody. I said, yeah. So that's the problem. Nobody's having a conversation anymore.
Right. And that's all I ever want is a conversation.
Yep. That's it, man. So that's why I was thankful. I knew we would have a great conversation, and I appreciate the platform to be able to share that. And hopefully our paths cross again when I'm out in California.
Well, when you come out here, let me know. And I'm just going to tell you, because I told the last guy, next time you come on a StreamYard or one of them, put your book or whatever down below your name, because they give you 2 places or your website.
No, that's
website.
That's an excellent point, man. I need to do that. I've got it sitting here next to me, but that doesn't help you.
I know, but if you put on there underneath your name, like I have my website, edparcaut.com, you can have, that's what yours is. You can put it right underneath there. That way, when we cut it up, it's in all the shorts, it's in all the stuff we do, so people can see that and they don't have to listen to or read the notes. So
no, that's wise advice, man. Sage advice, sir.
Well, I've been doing this since 2018, so I have a couple things there. I was supposed to put a course together on how to do podcasts, and I have everything done, but I never put the course together because I got busy doing other things, and that's the problem.
We're gonna have to get you focused.
The problem is I am focused. The problem is then I come up with an idea, and it's so easy now because of vibe coding and AI and everything else that you can go down a rabbit hole. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's like the book I just wrote was called NCO Principles. So I don't know if you know about story branding. You ever heard about the book Story Branding?
It sounds familiar, like I've seen them on Instagram or YouTube.
Well, it's the hero story is in all movies, right? There was a book that came out that was from a movie back in the day, and this basically talks about the hero story. So in Star Wars and all the motion pictures, there's the hero, there's the guide who guides the hero and all that stuff. Well, all your marketing, so story branding came out after he went and read those books, and he has 7 things to make sure that your marketing's that way.
Got it.
So that you're the guide and not the hero.
Right.
The client is the hero. Like the person in your book that's reading your book is the hero. You're the guide for them. Yep. Well, the problem is it ends at the sell. And so for me, I'm all about the whole process because I've been doing sales forever. So I was coming up with this idea, and I wanted to make it a military type of idea. So it's called the NCO principles, where you have the officers but the NCO is the person who does everything, and every company needs to have one. And so I wrote a 26 chapter book over a weekend about it, and now I'm just cleaning it up. And that's how easy it is to do stuff these days about book. Yeah. So I understand what you went through. It's a lot, but there's just things that I ran into because I got tired of promoting other people's stuff. Are you gonna? Yeah.
Well, there's definitely more efficient ways today that we know about, to be more efficient. And I felt like writing my book was going through basic training again. It was just, so.
I totally understand because I used a ghostwriter my first time, and that because I'm a good speaker and not a good writer.
Yeah. So see, I did not use a ghostwriter. I used a coach, or I had a coach, and I'm thankful that I had a coach because I wouldn't be sitting here with a published book if I didn't have a coach. I just wouldn't, because I needed somebody for my first book to give me those navigational tools, and it was a gift.
And so the company I went through is the same place that David Goggins went through for his book.
Oh, no kidding. Scribe? It was Scribe, wasn't it?
Scribe Media, yeah. So I went through them when they were Scribe Media right after Tucker Max had sold them, right? When I went in it, he was still there, and then he eventually sold it. And so I used them, but what was great about them is they would have the conversations with you and do everything. It's all your stuff, but they got it out of you. Yeah. And then they
they were the player at the time until it fell apart.
Right. And then they got rebought. So a guy bought the assets and he started up again. Nice guy. I interviewed him on my other podcast. But for me this time, I'm like, it's so easy now to do certain things as long as it's your words and your voice and everything else. You can't use AI and have it in your voice unless you've written a book or something else that it could draw from.
Yeah, 100%. That's a small world. But I've actually been to the Scribe Media offices in Austin, Texas. So what a small world.
Yeah, it was just I enjoyed it, but they approached me to help me because I have 4 books. So my financial freedom, building personal wealth or home ownership was about buying homes, but it looks at it totally differently the way I do the process. And I've had more people go give it to their kids, and their kids go, now I think I can actually own a home, where most people think they can't own a home. I explain how easy it is. We try to make the process so difficult so that people think it's hard. And it's not supposed to be. I want you to buy multiple homes, so I teach you how to. It's easy. So
that's awesome. Are you speaking on this topic publicly?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, because where am I going to go? I don't have time right now.
Yeah.
You said stay focused.
Podcast and a radio show. Where are you?
I got 14 shows a week I do. So I got enough right now, but I talk about it. So I talk about it on my radio show. I talk about it on my daily show. We talk about a bunch of stuff. So it's out there. I was in a documentary called Hacking Real Estate when it came up about how did people make money? Oh, I was the only mortgage guy in this documentary, and it was put on by the Avengers in LA, which was a real estate company was pretty big, who asked to have this documentary done. And so I was asked to be in it. So I've been in a bunch of stuff, and the best thing I wanted to talk about is when you do a book or you do something and people say this really changed their life. Well, now I focus on veterans mainly, again, what I do.
Yeah.
So I rewrote that book into a VA loan book just for veterans, so veterans understand how easy it is. Because there's companies out there who teaches you how to do stuff, where you see Instagram and all those TikToks, and you can buy real estate with your VA loan, but they don't tell you the truth about how, investment properties and all this stuff.
Right.
It's not all true.
Yeah.
You have to be careful.
No, there's no question about it, but I appreciate you providing that guidance to our veteran brothers, because we've got to look out for each other.
Very much so, because we're too trusting.
100%.
I mean, especially when there's companies that have the name of like a veteran company, and then there's not a single veteran owns that company. It's all owned by civilians.
Yeah.
That's a problem for me.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And I'm not going to say their name, but you know what I'm talking about. All right, Scott, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you being here. Go check out his book and then leave a review. Please go on Amazon, buy it, and leave a review. After you've bought it, don't leave a review before.
Yeah.
Make sure it's a verified purchaser. So here's the problem. You can't do it. If you buy the book, you can't be a verified purchaser right that moment. You have to do it later. So you have to go back. That's the problem.
That is the challenge, but I appreciate that recommendation. It is time well spent, just like this evening was time well spent with you, Ed, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate you being on here. Go check him out. And do you have your own website for your book? Is it scottlackey.com?
Bingo. Easy one.
Yeah, well, it's like, that's the easiest one. If you have your name, go get it everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. All right, Scott, thank you again for being on Helping the Brave.
All right, brother. See you later.